girl. Damn.
Hey, welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. I'm Mrs. Best. I do have my partner and co-host here from the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel, James.
Hey. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. Also, check the link in the description of this video and all of my videos. There's always a link to James's channel. I also have links occasionally for other creators that provide content that you guys may like Shayna_MCD, and also Best, who is my husband. So check that out. But let's get into this episode of Wife Swap, the Real Housewives edition. This episode was titled Daddy Duties versus Daddy Don'ts. This was season 1, episode 3. We're going to get our last episode of Wife Swap on Sunday after the Housewives of Potomac with Dr. Wendy and the Osefos. So we will recap that on Monday after James goes over Potomac. It probably won't take too long. Now that I'm seeing clips of it, I'm kind of like, oddly, I feel like Wendy may be the more boring housewife to watch on this. But for this episode, we had Emily Simpson from Housewives of Orange County. I don't know too much about Emily. I know that she is a housewife. I have not been keeping up with Orange County too much with the new season. Honestly, I've had trouble supporting the Orange County cast. If you're in California and have been in California your whole life, such as me, you know that the cast that they like to put on that show don't always support and represent things that we would like. So that is part of the reason why I don't always cover it. But I will go over the episode because she's a part of it. But I wanted to skip this episode just because it was Emily on there. One second, you guys. I am at work. Okay. Anywho, we're going to get into this episode. Emily, before we get into it, I want to say hi to Shani, though. Welcome in. Hi. You are always the first. She says, I didn't watch this episode left. Thought I had time before you're live. No worries. No worries. Our schedule. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we're going to give you a very in-depth, detailed review of this show because I was like you, Shani. I was like, okay, we could have really skipped this, but I watched it out of obligation, and I'm actually glad that I did because there's a lot to talk about here.
There is. There genuinely is a lot to talk about. This, honestly, this family, after watching this, they need to get their own show or spinoff or something. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Shani said I was only able to get 5 minutes in on this episode, but I don't know this housewife. So Housewives of Orange County, it's crazy because they are the reason we have all of these other franchises. They are the original.
Yep.
Them, then we got New York, then we got DC, which they love to never speak about. But Orange County, I don't know. I don't feel like they have the best or strongest following, and I think it's because they act like Orange County is full of a bunch of colorless women, and it's not. It's not. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But let's get into the episode. Emily is going to be switching spaces with a family from Park Ridge, New Jersey, which is, you can't live there unless you got money, for those who don't know.
Right.
For those who don't know. But she is married to a medical director at a prestigious hospital named Eric. If he's the medical director, that man has no time for anything, ever. They have 3 kids, a farm, and a pig in one household and one property, which is crazy. Now, immediately I'm noticing issues with the other family. I thought we'd do the introduction to, Emily, but her husband, Shane, okay, they have 3 kids. One of them need their ass whooped. There's that. But, I mean, they're a pretty normal family. They didn't present many red flags. The other family, that is not the housewife, they have so many red flags. So the husband first, Eric, feels like he's a walking ATM. He feels like his job and what he does for work is thankless. He does not feel appreciated by his wife. Seems like he feels a little appreciated by his kids, but he makes it very clear he does not feel appreciated by his wife. She wants Eric, Miss Kaylee, who is the wife that will be switching with Emily, she wants Eric to be more active in the household with their kids and with the duties of, being a parent. And he wants her to come to lunch with him at least once a week at work. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. He wants to see you and has made a suggestion. And can you come see me at lunch since you know you're unemployed and the kids are in school during the day? And she's like, nah, I'm not doing that. Why? Like it's just weird. Why? So they're just a mess. They're just a mess. So before they switch, the dynamic gets worse because she gives her kids kisses and hugs and I love yous. Her husband is like, and the bitch like just left them hanging. She's like, I don't want to kiss you. I don't want to hug you. I don't want to say goodbye. I'm like, baby girl, let me explain something to you. You're spoiled. It's clear you grew up with what you want in life. It's clear the privilege of the lack of color in your skin has impacted you and followed you into your marriage. You are a spoiled little fucking brat, Kaylee. Because there are housewives everywhere, all over the country, with way more kids and way less resources and a nigga with way less work ethic. You're complaining about going to lunch with your husband when no kids are around. Okay. And you got a damn pig, a swine running around the house? Okay. Before we move on to the swap, how did you feel about the introduction to Kaylee and Eric and how did you feel about, I know you don't watch Orange County, so how did you feel about the introduction that we got to Emily and Shane and their 3 kids as well?
Let me start with Emily first, because then I'm gonna move on to Kaylee next. But Emily, I'm gonna say this like this, lady, you haven't made. You ain't got to do no chores. You ain't got to work. And to me, I could see why her dynamic is the way it is because she has allowed reality TV and her being a constant member of a franchise really get in the way of her being what she's supposed to be, which is a housewife. She don't cook, she don't clean. That man got to go to work. He's an attorney. He got to go to work, get the kids, make them dinner. They all want 3 separate things. The 2 little boys want chicken nuggets, the little girl want pizza, and then he got to figure out what Emily wants to eat. It's like, Emily, no. You need to stop. You need to cut that shit out because that's crazy that you think like this. Kaylee, you got too much shit going on in your house. You got way too much going on. You complaining about how your husband does not help you, yet you got unnecessary shit going on. You got a farm, you got a pig up in your house running all over the place, you got goats and shit up in there, and then you talking about everything is hectic, and then you talking about your husband don't want to help you clean up, help you cook, help you put the kids to bed. I would hide from that shit too. No, I'm sorry, it's wrong. I know I'm wrong for saying that, but I would hide from her too. I would hide from all that shit. Them kids, them pets, because there's nothing worse than giving somebody what they want and then they complain and then make you the villain because you gave it to them. There's nothing worse than that. I'm telling you, there's nothing worse than that. So to me, I was not on Kaylee's side with this. I was on her husband's side because that's crazy. It's crazy to think that you get everything you want and then you get mad at him because he doesn't help you do it. This is what you wanted. Did you ever ask him what he wanted? Did you ask him if he wanted a farm with all the animals running all up in your personal home instead of in a stable? I'm just saying. That
You
shit
just
pissed me off.
read
No,
her
no,
for
because it
absolute
pissed me
filth.
off. Like, honestly. And then she get mad because he don't do nothing. It was like, I wouldn't do anything either because it's not my house. It's yours. He wrong, but at the same time, that shit is chaotic. Like, how does he put his foot down and say, okay, we need to reason with some of this shit? So, yeah.
Oh Lord. Well, the episode, honestly, I don't think anybody cared about the housewife, but the family made the episode worth watching. They should have, honestly, no shade. They should have put this housewife second. They should have put Emily second, her episode, because it's a good place to kind of get lost in it. No shade. They got to figure out OC quickly because you're missing out on, I think, audiences of different minorities, and it shows. But let me catch the comment from Shani before we move forward. We all eating spaghetti, or we all eating chicken and nuggets and French fries, or we'll all eat pizza. If you don't want to eat it, then you're not hungry. If you don't, and you don't need to eat, you can eat it tomorrow. My mom, I grew up in a hospital, or not in the hospital. I grew up in a household where we were told you eat what you get or you starve. The choice is yours. I've done my part.
Same here. I had a single mom. There was no I get an option of what I wanted to eat until I got my own job. Then my mama said, whatever you want to buy for yourself, you can eat, but my food is here. Like, and there wasn't too many times that I did not eat. Like, I got a job at 14. So I was very young working at Round Table. So it was one of those where if I worked, I ate Round Table. If I was at home, I ate the food my mom cooked. It was very simple.
Yeah, we gotta say so with like little snacks and stuff that we could have, but like in terms of like dinner, the nutrients and stuff, everybody got the same thing. That is crazy to say. I have 3 kids, they each want something different for dinner, so I'm gonna make them each what they want. That's also a waste of food.
No, it's not a waste of food. That's showing them that they don't have to follow ordinance in a home. And
Life,
not,
her kids are not guaranteed to always have what they want in life.
yes.
Stuff like that, you're setting them up to expect the privilege that they may not always have. But moving forward, the wives go to each other's houses, meet each other, do the rule change. This rule change was the most underwhelming rule change of any of the episodes we've seen so far. Because essentially, Emily's going to have to do some work around the house, and Kaylee's not going to do anything. So they're just going to swap lives, which is not that interesting in my opinion. But Kaylee's baffled because Shane comes home, introduces himself, gets to cooking dinner for the kids. After he cooks the kids dinner, he's like, it's our date night. So they go out. And on the date night, Kaylee is talking about how her marriage is essentially a mess. That's what I heard. See, couples like to say, oh, we have kids, that's why it's hard. She got 3 school-age kids, okay? Y'all got 8 hours in a day, maybe more if you put your kids in after-school activities and actually give them structure and make them sit and quiet and do their homework to yourselves or to each other as a couple. So y'all are choosing not to spend time with each other, which at the end of the show, Emily points out when talking to the husband, which I loved. And we'll get to that later. But she's complaining about her husband and how she wishes that he would do more for her in terms of going on dates or helping with stuff. The way that she was talking about her husband, like I get getting away, but she was speaking about him as if like, if someone were to say to her, like, yeah, that's crazy, like she'd leave him in a second. Like, I don't fully, Kaylee's clearly not happy. And clearly having the money that she needs to do whatever she wants and a husband that allows her not to work is not, that's what I mean. Money is not always going to bring happiness because she got a good life, but doesn't seem happy at all. Gina, who I don't like, from Housewives of Orange County, comes by. She has a talk with Callie the next day. They go for coffee. Gina actually gave good advice. She's like, you know, though you feel like you're a housewife and you don't have a right to complain or put stuff for you because you're not working and you feel that guilt, you cannot do for your others without doing for yourself. She also made the point that being a housewife is like a job. So after his shift and after your shift, the responsibility should be shared. And I thought that was the best way to explain it without attacking the husband or attacking the housewife. Because at one point, for those who don't know, when we started our YouTube channel, I was a housewife and we don't even have kids. I was home from 2018 until 2023 when I finished college. And I was like, okay, I want to go get a job. That's why I went to school. You know, probably could have still been a housewife. But when you do that, you still need to make sure that you do things for yourself so that you don't lose yourself. Me, it was keeping up and completing my education and my personal goals as it related to a career. For someone else, it could be something as simple as keeping up with your nails or your hair or just getting out and spending time with your girlfriends. But you have to take care of yourself even when you're the sole person caring for someone else or a home. So I thought that was good advice. How did you feel about Kaylee going to dinner on the date night, what they talked about, and the meeting with Gina for coffee?
I thought the date night was very sweet. And I thought it was a great gesture to show her that she does need a long time with her husband. And the fact that that's not something that registered to her, I thought that was very scary because did y'all just meet, get married, and just had kids right away? Like, what was the order of chambers with you two? Because I don't, because to me, she gave like it was all foreign. And I'm like, you couldn't have been out of the womb that long of marriage. And, where was the courting? Like, what was that like then, if that was the case? Because it just seemed like dating was foreign to her and she wasn't really expecting much. And her dinner with, what is that baby's name? I'm sorry. The housewife. I don't know. I don't watch OC, y'all, so I don't know. And I can't remember her name because she wasn't that memorable. But the little friend that she went, I do agree with that. She does need, even when we saw her in the introduction of her, cleaning out the stable for, the animals and stuff, and how she had to be up at 7, had to cook breakfast for the kids, get them off to school, clean up, do the laundry, then come cook dinner, put the kids to sleep while her husband just sit on his ass. I just feel like this was an open wake up call that she needed to make sure that you're not a good service to anybody. And that should be a lesson for any woman. You're not a service to anybody if you don't put yourself first and take care of your needs first. Like, you have to do that. Like, I get they say put your children first and you got to sacrifice everything. And I just feel like it needs to be remessaging, because my mom, let me tell y'all, my mom always came first. My mom always came first, and we followed in line with her. That's how it is. If my mom wanted to do something, she did it. She made sure we were at my grandmother's house or my aunts and uncles. She traveled with her friends and then came back and got us and then followed on that. My mom, as a single woman, took care of herself first and then took care of us next. And she made it look like, hey, we never knew that that's what she was doing until I became an adult and saw that women were doing it the opposite way. So I feel like that can go for married women too. You have to take care of yourself in order to have the capacity to do all of those things that Kaylee was doing, which
Every
was a
religious
lot.
book also will tell you to put your spouse before your kids and to put yourself before your spouse. So, people forget that. But if you can't, if you're with someone and you're unable to give yourself time and they will be understanding, or if you can't give yourself time without them making you feel guilty, then you're with the wrong person, in my opinion, because that should be really, really simple. And for those who don't know, little story time into my personal life. The only reason I became a housewife is just because I was fed up. I was working a lot, and my husband got to a point where he was doing well and was like, "You help me to get where I want. I don't care. I like you at home anyway." So it's like, if someone cares about you, they'll see like, "Oh, she's burnt out. Let me handle it. You stay home for a while." Actually, man, he probably still had me at home, but I'm gonna say that quietly because he came home. I'm not staying at home. But getting back into the episode, before we do, let me get the comment. Shani said it shows that the kids run the house and not the parents. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It definitely does. Kids got to understand structure, rules. What do they call it? Hierarchy. Just like life,
Hierarchy.
there's always somebody that you're going to have to answer to. There's always a rule to be followed. It's important to know. But meanwhile, Emily's cleaning barns in New Jersey. I'm like, oh, hell no. And, when she meets with Eric, the husband, they take the horse out because in Kaylee and Eric's household, after dinner, they all eat as a family and then they all go for a walk, which is fine. Why the fuck you got to bring the animals? Why do you need to bring the animals for a walk? I genuinely don't understand it. I just don't. And it looked like them horses was being held in by the thinnest gate. I just don't understand it. I know they neighbors hate the smell. That's what I'll say. I'm used to like houses where if there's a farm, it's like in a neighborhood.
It's it's acres and acres of land.
Yeah,
To where your
this is
nearest neighbor is a few feet away from
not
you.
right next door. Your neighbors got to hear horses neigh, chickens cluck, and wake them up. Like, absolutely not. You got to be careful where you buy a house. But they get all of that done. Now, about getting eggs with one of the daughters, Emily names all of the eggs after the housewives, which to me, I don't care about the OC housewives. I will say all of them bitches in the face need help. It is true what they say. Some populations age a little better. That's all I'm going to say. But she names the chickens after them. I guess that was supposed to be funny. I just did not care for it. Um, Essentially, Emily learned that Eric is at work all day. He comes home late, late, late at night. He's unavailable a lot, but he wants affection, even though he's unavailable, which is interesting. We'll discuss it more a little later. I'm not really going to go over Emily's part too much unless you wanted to add something about her and that chicken and egg.
No, I don't. I like that they got somebody who was relatable to a farm, even though I think it would have been funnier. Like, I feel like I almost wanted Wendy to be with these people versus her. Because I feel like she knew what to do. I need somebody. What makes the show funny is somebody who does not know what they're doing that has to do it.
Yeah, this wasn't a funny episode at all. I
This
didn't
was
find
this.
myself like chuckling. But moving forward, the rule change comes. They're going to be swapping to where Emily is going to be making Kaylee's family follow her rules and vice versa. The rules that Kaylee came up with, I agreed with all of them, and they weren't too harsh. She limited screen time for the kids. She wants Annabelle to help with dinner, and she wants the family to eat dinner together. I didn't see any issue with it. It seems like she more so incorporated the values of tradition and family. I actually like that about the Clear people and the Italian people over in New Jersey. They're big on family. They like family dinners. I think when you come to places like California, maybe New York, I'm not from there, but I can speak for California. Like, people have their families out here, yes, but we don't move and interact with families so much. Some do, but for the most part, we don't have that. You
No.
know, we don't have that.
It
So
was like for my family in California growing up, it was probably twice a month where we would have the collective barbecue until one of my aunts or uncles or my mother will get into one of her siblings, and then that tears us apart, and then we don't speak for another 3 weeks, and then that's why we don't really incorporate that
well,
anymore.
even that, most people in California that I know are not meeting up twice a month just for a barbecue.
Yeah, no, we
That's
definitely
something
no.
I'm proud of.
It definitely was something that now we don't do it at all. Like, we have completely like alienated. Everyone's separated now. But I knew as a kid growing up, like, it was something my family constantly did at least twice a month. And I mean, the entire, like, all of my grandmother's children would come together and with the kids and try to make sure we knew each other and loved on each other and stuff like that. As long as, and then when the liquor got to flowing, that's when everything else went haywire and we had to go because usually that's what happens at our color functions.
But that is exactly why Kaylee had the family do it, because a lot of families don't do that. Not regularly, not monthly, not bi-monthly, not weekly. A lot of families, especially in places like California, places where it's expensive, especially when people get to a certain age, the kids is working, the teens is working, the adults is working, everybody's doing their own thing. So I like that she incorporated that. Now, Emily, her rules were a little less serious. She pretty much said that the dad, Eric, has to care for the animals so that she can get a break from it. Bedtime will be handled by dad, which I think makes sense since he's gone all damn day. When are you bonding with your kids, sir? And dad is going to plan a date night. Now, at this date night, Emily called out Eric about using his job as a way to escape from the chaos that is his house and the discomfort with his wife, which I thought was accurate. You're
Yep.
the medical director. You can work from where you want. You are literally the person in charge of the chiefs of surgeries, chiefs of different departments. You are the director of the entire hospital. And I know I could never reach the medical directors out here because they're either always in transit or working from home, and I work in hospitals. So, sir, if the medical director at UCSF in San Francisco and San Francisco General and CPMC and the Sutter Health systems throughout the East Bay, Palo Alto, and the Greater Peninsula area can answer their phones and ignore social workers like me because they are with their families, then you can too. Then you can too. Because I love that Emily brought that up, because people that work in certain fields like to use their field of work as an excuse. But we make time for what we want to make time for. And Eric likes to complain about his wife, but he has the attitude of, I do all of this, so she needs to do all of this. And that's not a good attitude to have, because then you fall into routine, and routine can all sometimes be a negative as it relates to relationships, like romantically. Because when you're in routine, there's nothing exciting, there's nothing surprising, no one's giving you butterflies, there's no dates, you know what to expect. You have a roommate. You know, I don't understand it. I like that Emily called him out about that. He does say he wants more credit for what he does, but honestly, y'all did Emily dirty. She did not come on Wife Swap to be a marriage counselor. She could use some counseling herself with her own marriage, from what I remember, from what I've seen on the show between her and that man. But she did bring up some good points, and I think that shows, the point of this experience that is Wife Swap. They can learn something from people that normally they may not think they could learn anything from. But how did you feel about the date? The kids did go fishing at the end of it, you guys, because she wanted to do an activity for Eric, which was important. I think men oftentimes get put to the side and on the back burner for kids or the woman and what she wants. So I did like that she tried an activity with him. It was chaos because it was with the kids, but it was nice. But how did you feel about what they talked about at the end?
I think, yeah, I agree with you. She was not paid to be the marriage counselor for these two or the individual therapist. I didn't like that. I also didn't like that the dinner had to be at the home. I feel like he should set a standard with taking her out and getting, a babysitter for the kids. So that
He
way,
got the money.
yeah, he has the money, he has the access. So I don't understand why that dinner had to be at the house. That was just too cheap for me. I'm sorry. I needed you to take her to a restaurant and wine and dine. And that's probably why Kaylee's so, frustrated, but she don't know her damn self. So I probably shouldn't say that. But it's just I need him to put more effort into his, day to day with his wife. And I think that that's why she's so hell bent on, you know, not really giving him any play or any affection, is because he's not creative. And I think he just doesn't put his foot. I think he's just too passive because he feels like I make the money so I could be passive. And I'm like, no, you cannot. You need to be assertive and let her know, hey, I need time. So let's get a babysitter for these kids. Let's go out to dinner. Let's make it a point. I feel like she needs him to lead.
He, I feel like she probably tried to let him lead, which is how she got in the situation of being a housewife, because you can't get to that point without letting your man lead at one point. But I feel like he led them into that. You gotta, no shade. You gotta, like, when it comes to being a housewife as a woman, that is you letting your husband lead. It just is. And whether people want to acknowledge it or see it, it's an absolute fact. But it doesn't mean that they'll continue to lead. And I feel like he probably got this great job and was like, now we're okay and you can do this. And she kind of leaned on him, but that turned into the hours that he has. And then you got 3 kids also. Then she chose to add like a 4th and 5th kid in the farm. Like the farm to me counts as another 2 kids with the amount of work that is done.
Right.
And he made his comment like, there's a fucking pig running around the house. There's animals running all over the place, because he cares for his wife and he's trying to keep her happy. But I think a lot of men sometimes think that leading means I'm just going to pay the bills and that's that. I went through that with my husband when I was a housewife, because he was working 12-hour shifts 6 days a week in a factory, making incredible money. But I was like, I don't see you. I don't see you. You're just sending money for bills, but I don't really see you. So I can understand how with the routine of what she has in the house or looking for stuff to do, but she has to allow him to lead again, and he has to get off his ass and cry.
Yeah, because to me, I felt like this lifestyle that they have in this home, this farm, was just to pacify her and give her what she wants and distract her so much that she gets out of his way. That's what I originally thought, because that didn't make any sense to me that she's the one that has to tend to everything on that farm and he doesn't get out there and do it at all. So I was like, okay, did you just get her that shit to keep her busy so she get out your ass? Like, what was you trying to do? Because that's a lot of things that she has to do on a day to day, y'all. She had to get up at 7 and clean out. I wouldn't even know where to start. So I don't know. It just, to me, I get what you're saying and I understand it to some degree, but at the same time, I feel like There should have been some no somewhere up in there. We can't have all of this.
I feel like there was no somewhere in there, but we don't know what the no was.
Do you think so? Because I don't. I don't think there was no at all.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's easier to think about if you're someone who has like is married, because you think of a different perspective in that most people are just thinking of like the current times. But I feel like there was a time in their relationship where she heard no because she's got some resentment and some attitudes about stuff. So I do feel like she's heard no in certain areas, but not areas that we're going to see on a wife swap episode, because it seemed like both Eric and Kaylee wanted to say so much more or may have said so much more, but we didn't see it. But I just can't see a man like him who wants a housewife and the way that she described it, not being comfortable at some point saying no. I also feel like she might resent him a little bit because I feel like the no might be related to her like going back to work to some capacity or doing something more. But it's one of those things where we'll never really know unless we're in their relationship. But based on her resentment, I'm pretty sure she heard no, and that's the fit that this bitch is throwing. She heard no somewhere. But he gives me the type that'll say no to you and then be like, but you can have this farm, and then regret it. So I don't think these two should be married. I would love to see this couple though, y'all, on another show. Like put them on couples therapy, bring back marriage boot camp, all of those types of things. Please.
Yeah, because there's definitely there's definitely a threshold of issues that need to get addressed that I feel like they are not addressing. Like, to me, are you even still attracted to him? Because he looked completely different from them old pictures to now. So I mean,
I don't think she was attracted to him, because why aren't you like, there's lots of couples that's marriages have been broken, but they'll still like do the hug and the hello and goodbye. Like,
right.
He did not want to kiss that man and seemed so disgusted by him. I can't. I just can't.
And that makes me look at her sideways, because I agree with you. That's why I say it makes me look at her sideways. I'm like, well, did you marry him to get up out that old trailer park or something? Like, what is it? Shout out to the family that prays, Kathy Bates. That's my favorite line of that whole movie. And here, I thought you just married him to get out that old trailer park. I love that part. I'm sorry. That's my shit. I'm sorry. That had me hollering.
The last thing that we see, y'all, pretty much is just Emily and Kaylee meeting up. They talk about Eric feeling unappreciated, and Kaylee breaks down and says she has a wall up when it comes to affection with her husband, but can't figure it out why. Okay, girl.
Yeah, you know why. But you know why. You just don't. You don't want to go there. Like she said, I don't want to go there because you know if you go there, America gonna eat your ass up.
Yep.
That's why you don't want to go there.
I don't feel like he's entirely wrong. I know he's made some mistakes, which are mistakes that a lot of men and husbands will make. But he's still doing all that he does for his family, allowing her to do this, doing stuff out of care. So I feel like in this case, it's not a matter or issue of him leading. I do feel like it's an issue of him accepting too much from his wife, him potentially spoiling his wife too much. And I don't think his wife is attracted to him.
I don't think she's attracted to him, but I also feel like in addition to that, he just does not know what to do anymore. I think she has pushed him to a point to where he does not know what to do. All he knows what to do at this point is provide. That's all he knows what to do. He lets her lead because he's scared to move this way, that way, forward or backwards, because he feels like he's going to lose at some point. And ladies, y'all have to understand, y'all can't do people like y'all can't do men like that, because it's one thing if he provided and he got Sugarfoot around the block that he go and visits every now and then. There's a difference, because if he had that, then he'd be wrong, right? But y'all can't sit up here if he does everything and he just doesn't know what to do, and you're not saying anything because you're resentful because he won't help you, but then also you don't open up your fucking mouths for him to help you. Or just like the same way Emily did it. Emily said, no, I'm going to go lay down. You going to go take care of the stable. I am tired. So you going to go do that. I'm sorry. That's what you about to do. He needs that kind of direction. And I think because he pays for anything, I think that may be what it is too. Because he pays for everything, because he provides, maybe she feels like if she does pressure him to do something, he'll probably throw that in her face. And see, and that's where you wrong, because you contribute equally as well. Ladies, let me explain something to you. Even though a man provides financially, you provide in other avenues as well. Don't make it seem like that financial holds the biggest burden of all, because it does not. It is an equal transaction. He wanted you, he married you, he has to provide for you. But what you give to him is you cook, you clean, you take care of the children, you do things that he does not do. That is an equal transaction. It may not financially bring to the home, but it's still equal. Like, ladies, stop looking at it like that. Like,
It's
because
what Gina said, to not go on and on. It's just like Gina said. You work your shift during the day as a housewife.
yeah,
When he gets off, you guys share the duties.
exactly.
But I will say, if you struggle to show affection to your husband, that should not be a struggle. Even when I'm mad at my husband, I still sometimes want to give affection and will like fight the urge. So if you, to me, affection is something that's natural. There's some people that be like, I'm not that affectionate, or some couples, oh, we're not a affectionate showing couple. Then your relationship's headed somewhere not positive, because affection is literally a form of language. It's a form of expression. And it's one of the more common forms of expressions that come with a relationship that will help it differ from just regular friendships or regular relationships with family. So I encourage Kaylee, if it's that hard for you to give your husband affection, go to therapy, go to counseling. I think that's deep. Some people have too many kids because they can't stop giving their husbands affection. So, yeah, it could go either way. But in her case, I do think she needs to talk to a therapist. I don't know what's going on with this family. We don't know them. They're not on reality TV, so I won't dissect them too much. But from what I'm seeing, she's the problem. I'm not saying he doesn't contribute, but he's coming through with solutions like, okay, I'm busy. Come have lunch with me since during the day the kids ain't here. Okay, well, how about this? You can have the farm. He's at least trying. I don't see that from her end at all, anywhere.
I
So
think not only is he trying, but I feel like he just truly does not know. And as I said this, he doesn't know which way to go. And that could be a very hard.
you gotta tell him. He
Yeah.
can't read
Yeah.
minds. That's what women do too. Like, the nigga can't read your mind. And men, your woman can't read your mind. If you want something, a closed mouth don't get fed. Open your mouth and tell him. If you're not
But
opening
see,
your mouth and telling them, then be quiet.
but here's the thing. He does like try and she ignores him. Like
That's why I say she
the
is
best
the
example
problem.
is like when he reached over for a kiss and she turned around. It was like, see, he's trying to meet you in the middle, and you turn around and turn your back to him and giving him your ass to kiss. And it's like, how can he be there for you when you do shit like that? Or how can he change if you are just ignoring him out of spite because you mad he won't do shit, but you won't tell him? Like, and you don't even got to tell him to do the laundry. Just drop the laundry basket off right on his desk. Take care of that, buddy.
She's not gonna do that. I mean, at the end, they show an update. They say she's going to lunch with him once a week or something. They
I feel
say,
like that's for the show, and 2 weeks later, it's going to be right back to the way it was, just like with any
yeah,
new shit.
I think we can all agree on that. But bravo, maybe call this family and put their ass on Housewives of New Jersey. Because if he's a medical director at a hospital in the New Jersey or New York metropolitan area, they make enough money for it. The house big enough,
She
nice enough.
actually,
She could do it. And the
she
women of
could,
New
yeah.
Jersey right now have nothing to give. I don't want to see Melissa. I don't. Jennifer Aiden was fired. At this point, Dolores, I don't want to see you until you're on Rhode Island. I'm tired of seeing her with Teresa. Don't want to see Teresa. Don't care for, was that Danielle? Put her on that, because the lady's got a storyline for TV somewhere. And her husband, he seems like he has the good attitude to go along with it.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like she would be a good Jen Aiden replacement because they're very similar as far as like what Aiden does, what Bill does, and
Everybody
whatever.
right now.
Hmm?
Jennifer Aiden, if you're talking about the fact because she's a housewife, that's the only comparison. Outside of that,
No, I'm saying their lives are very similar. Like as far as they both have doctor husbands, they both, are actual housewives who actually do. Even though I feel like Jen Aiden got a whole bunch of maids and shit, and
Janae
she'll
was
clean up.
fired, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, she was, but I'm just saying that's a good replacement because she's actually identical. She just doesn't have the personality. She's sweet.
I still
So
feel like they're going to get rid of New Jersey because it's too close to New York anyway. And I feel like they may just build a new cast around Dolores. Because look, we have RHOP, but none of them live in Potomac, but
Karen.
the one, and she was renting, so she don't count. It's not her forever home. But you know, we'll see what they do. But that's it for this live. I'm gonna head into Love and Hip Hop. I will be back with James on Sunday to go over the last episode of Wife Swap, which will be Wendy Osefo and the Osefos. Please do not come in my live talking about the case. I'm not going to be here to talk about court. I am not going to be watching this episode trying to locate articles that are in the paperwork for court in her house. I have a life and y'all should get one too if that's the case. We're going to talk about the episode. Keep it light, keep it right, keep it tight. We'll drag Wendy in the appropriate situation, which would be one of an unpopular opinion videos if he decided to do another one, and or the reunion and Potomac Lives where it makes sense. But wife swap with kids and stuff, let's not. Other than that, we're going to head into Love and Hip Hop. I hope you see the description to subscribe to James's channel. And thank you, Rose. We'll see you next time. Adios.